Many aspiring school leaders spend the entire interview talking about leadership skills, instructional strategies, data analysis, and collaboration. But they forget to talk about the people at the center of every school: students. If you're preparing for a school leadership interview, here are 3 principles that can instantly transform your answers. What's going on, aspiring school leader? I am Dr. Donovan Smalls II, assistant principal, best-selling author, interview coach, and I help aspiring school leaders get interview ready and confidently land their first leadership role. Today's topic is the one thing killing your interviews. You know, many times in interviews, we are taught that we need to talk about our positive attributes, our leadership skills, our ability to coach and develop other people. And although those things are correct, I do think they're a bit incomplete. And what I mean by that is we often forget about the people who are going to directly benefit from our leadership. And that's the students. I know you're enjoying this episode, but I want to let you know about my 4-week interview preparation coaching program called Elevate Your Impact. This program is specifically for aspiring school leaders who have an amazing resume. You're ready to lead, but you may need additional support regarding interview preparation. In my 4-week program, you will learn how to clarify and confidently communicate your leadership story, practice scenario-based interview questions with real-time coaching and targeted feedback, and participate in a full one-on-one mock leadership interview with targeted, actionable feedback. So if that's you, if you're an aspiring school leader and you know you need additional support regarding interview preparation, visit my website, donovansmalls2.com/coaching for more information, or click the link in the description to book your call with me today. Right? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we need to skip over taking care of our teachers. That is obviously a priority. If we're not taking care of our teachers, we're not taking care of our kids, right? But sometimes when I'm coaching aspiring school leaders, when I'm listening to their answers and I'm providing them with feedback, many times what's missing is the kids, the students, the scholars. We forget that the interview is not all about us demonstrating how great of a leader that we are or how great of a leader that we're going to be. In humility, you know that's one of my favorite words. But we have to talk about the kids. What impact is our leadership going to have on students? And so today I want to give you 3 principles that I think are definitely going to transform how you respond in your interviews so that you make sure that you are student-centered in your approach. And principle number 1 is stop making yourself the hero. You know, sometimes that is a tendency that we have and a hard habit to break. It's not always talking about ourselves, right? Because leadership isn't about being the star player. It's about helping others succeed. You know, if you've ever played sports, you understand that being the star player does not necessarily get you the results that you want. It doesn't get you the win or the championship that you are striving for. The biggest thing that if you're playing sports is that although you might be the star player, although you might bring all of these leadership attributes to your team, it is your responsibility to galvanize and bring everybody together to reach the common goal. It is not enough for you to shine. Right? In fact, as a leader on a sports team, as a leader in an organization, as a leader within a school building, many times you are the one that should be deflecting a lot of the positive feedback that comes, right? I'm not saying show a level of false humility, but what I'm saying is the credit should often go to the kids, right? The credit should often go to the teachers. You should be the one that is providing teachers, providing students with a foundation in order for them to thrive. And so again, leadership is not about being the star player. It's about helping others succeed. So don't spend your entire interview talking about your accomplishments. Yes, those are important, but you can list most of those on your resume. And again, there should be some sort of connection to your accomplishment, to the actual impact that you have had. Show how you supported colleagues, teams, or students beyond your classroom. Highlight your influence, not just individual success. And I want you to position yourself as someone who elevates others, because that's what school leadership is about. When you land your first school leadership role, you are responsible for elevating other people. That's what coaching and development is. And if you don't have the mindset of, I'm going to be an instructional leader that elevates other people within their practice, right? Elevates teachers within their practice so that they can influence students, then you're getting this wrong. You're getting leadership wrong, because that's what it's about. It's about elevating other people. And so our key takeaway for principle number 1 is interview committees aren't looking for the best teacher. They're not looking for the flashy leader. They're looking for someone who can help others grow. This is about elevating and impacting other people. So principle number 1 is stop making yourself the hero. Principle number 2 is connect your classroom impact to school-wide impact. And even in that principle is a key for you to start thinking about as an aspiring leader, right? This summer, I want you to map out what experiences you are going to be able to need to enhance your leadership practice and to enhance your resume. Because you have to be intentional about what type of questions you think the hiring committee, the interview committee is going to ask you, and then align experiences accordingly, right? I'm not saying that you're going to be afforded an opportunity to do all of these things, but what can you do in your classroom that you can leverage into a school-wide manner? So for instance, when you go into your assistant principal or your supervisor or your academic coach or dean interview, you're going to be asked a question about data. So what can you do during this upcoming school year so that you have experience with data analysis? Right? You're going to be asked about collaboration. You're going to be asked about how you've improved practice, right? How you've led a professional development session or a PLC. You're going to be asked specific questions within leadership. And I want you to start thinking about the experiences that you can get this upcoming school year so that in March, April, May of 2027, you have the correct experiences that are going to prepare you to land your first school leadership role. This is about intentionality. If you think that you landing your first school leadership role is about osmosis, it's not going to happen, right? It's just not going to fall out of the sky because you have 20 years of experience teaching. You often hear me say that just because you are an effective teacher, just because you have 20 years of teaching experience doesn't mean that that's going to translate to leadership. We're talking about two different lanes. Yes, from a leadership perspective, you need to understand what it's like to be in a classroom, for sure. But just because you understand what it's like to be in a classroom doesn't mean that you can lead people and coach people to become better in their practice. So you need to be intentional about the experiences that you get so that when it comes to our kids, when it comes to our students, you are developing teachers that are going to develop students. So principle number 2, again, connect your classroom impact to school-wide impact. Leaders think beyond the students on their roster. I want you to start thinking about, demonstrating that you're already thinking about the success of all students. And so although you are an aspiring leader, you are teaching in a classroom, you have limited access to doing things that are school-wide, you still want to be able to at least be able to speak to those things in terms of how you would scale your specific classroom management practices or your formative assessments, or how you would implement coaching in a school-wide manner, right? A coaching cycle. How are you going to do an observation in a way that doesn't just allow it to be a one-time, I'm going to pop in, I'm doing my evaluation, and that's it. You're not actually improving student achievement if you're not supporting the teachers by constant coaching, constant check-ins, constant conversations about how you can help them to improve. So for principle number 2, our key takeaway is that the strongest candidates show they're already making an impact beyond their classroom walls. Here's the thing I want you to consider, right? Again, as a classroom teacher, I understand, right? Limited prep periods, limited planning time. I get all of that. Within that, you still have to find a way, right? If you truly want to be a school leader, make it known to your administrators. Maybe they can bring you into a fire drill on your prep period, right? And you can see how the building is run during a fire drill or an emergency drill, right? There are a bunch of experiences that as administrators, we can bring you in so that you can at least get an understanding of what it's like to lead a school beyond instruction. Instruction is important. Don't get me wrong. That is a core priority, right? And even if we're talking about instruction, you need to know how to effectively evaluate teachers and coach teachers. You need to get some experience with that. Ask your administrators. I'm sure that they will be more than willing to allow you to coach with them, right? To learn from them. And even if not, do you have a peer that on your prep period, you can go observe them and even informally observe them, right? You don't even have to provide them with the feedback if that's not the level of relationship that you have with that colleague, right? Hopefully you do, where you can at least get in some practice in terms of coaching and development. So again, you can improve student achievement. The way that you improve student achievement, the way that you truly impact students, the way that in your interview, you can talk about how you're going to develop students in a way that gets them to where they need to be academically, is by you also talking about the impact that you are going to have on teachers. See, there's a direct correlation between you as a leader and your impact on teachers and how that translates to students. And so I want you to see how that pattern works so you can start thinking about those experiences for this upcoming school year. So again, principle number 2 is connect your classroom impact to school-wide impact. And lastly, principle number 3 is make students the center of your leadership philosophy. Leadership is the vehicle. Student success is the destination. You know, a lot of times in our leadership philosophy, we talk about cultural responsiveness. We talk about being an equity-driven leader. We talk about being a servant leader. We talk about being a transformative leader, right? We talk about being a democratic. We talk about our leadership style and our philosophy, which I think is great. But in your philosophy, you want to be able to communicate in your interview that it all connects to students, right? If you truly believe in collaboration, if you truly believe in elevating student voice, those are the things that your leadership philosophy needs to flow into. And you need to be able to communicate that within your interview. The hiring committee, the interview committee wants to hear, where is this person talking about students? Is this person talking about students at all? Or are they just talking about how great of a leader that they are, or their leadership traits, or their leadership style? Again, all of that, it's important, but it must flow into a response about how you are going to impact students, and not just their grades, but how about their life? Because beyond academic achievement is your ability as a leader to shape the lives of young people. And if the hiring committee is able to hear that you can shape the lives of young people, you have a better chance of landing that role. So remember, keep students at the center of every leadership decision that you make. And when you speak in your interview, you have to flow right into how you're going to impact students. So principle number 3 is make students the center of your leadership philosophy, because great interview answers don't just explain how you lead, they explain who benefits from your leadership, and that's the students. So today's topic is the one thing killing your answers. And then we talked about 3 principles that can instantly strengthen your responses in your interviews. Principle number 1 was stop making yourself the hero. Principle number 2, connect your classroom impact to school-wide impact. And principle number 3, make students the center of your leadership philosophy. Now, if you are an aspiring school leader and you're looking to elevate your impact regarding your interview skills, you understand the importance of truly landing or doing well in that interview is going to greatly depend upon your preparation, right? And you truly know that you need to invest in a coach. You're looking for some feedback. You're looking for someone who is currently a school leader, right? Currently an assistant principal currently an assistant principal who you can bounce ideas off of and truly get some real feedback. Reach out, let's have a conversation to see if interview coaching is exactly what you need to help you land your first school leadership role. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone else so we can continue to impact aspiring leaders to help them get to exactly where they need to be. As always, I hope you have a great week of teaching, leading, and learning. Take care.